What's up, guys? It is Carly here bringing you your Tuesday review on Body Bags, and today I'm going to be talking about a film that was sent to me by Mr. Derek, former member of this channel, and that is Just Before Dawn. I was pretty excited to get this film because it's one that I've always been kind of curious about just based on the title and kind of the idea that it's a slasher. I like slasher movies, so I was always kind of interested in it, but kind of just put it on the back burner, so I was really excited when Derek sent this to me. The plot here is you have 5 friends who are going on a weekend camping trip. I believe one of them had inherited some land up in the woods, so they're just going on this camping trip, old-fashioned with like tents and things like that, out in these woods, and they're just gonna hang out and swim and things like that. On their way there, they kind of encounter a guy who's sort of warning them about not going up there and how they're not gonna come back and things like that, and they're just ignoring the warnings. And then they also encounter this sort of backwoods family up in the woods, so there's just some creepy stuff going on, and they're obviously just trying to have a good time, but then they start getting picked off one by one. It just turns into your typical slasher there. So it sounds like a basic story, right? I mean, it's much like Friday the 13th, Sleepaway Camp, any of those camping films, but I was really, really surprised by this film, especially just the opening. You have like this very eerie score. It's like a whistling, and you get this sunset or sunrise or whatever, and it's just very beautiful but also very eerie with the music combined. So right off the bat I was pretty hooked just visually. I just think it has a lot of really good visuals that make it really creepy. It makes it, because it's like you're actually in the woods in this one. It's not like your typical camping thing where it's a bunch of cabins on a campground. There are actually people up in the woods, and I think that makes it much more creepy and more realistic. I feel like it feels like you're actually in the woods with them at times, and it's just very dark and eerie, and you don't know what's going on in the woods or anything like that. So I think that's just really nice about this film. It makes it a little different from your typical camping movies. I also really like the characters in this one. I find that a lot of slashers, like standalone slashers that not a lot of people talk about or that are just lesser known, have pretty weak characters, and I didn't really get that in this movie. I thought the characters were all pretty likable, especially like the main girl in this. I think their acting is alright. It's your typical acting. It's not horrible, not the worst I've ever seen, but it's just decent acting. So I like that about it. I also like the reveal of who is killing them and things like that. I think it's pretty scary, honestly. It also feels kind of realistic, but also not at the same time, because you're dealing with sort of backwoodsy types of people, and once again, you don't know what's lurking in the woods. So in that aspect, you really don't know what's lurking in the woods, so to me it's a little bit realistic. So overall, I thought this movie was pretty solid. I was extra surprised by it because, like I said, I wanted to see it for a while now, but at the same time I wasn't really going into it expecting much, especially with some of the slashers I've watched recently that are okay, like the 6 to 7 score type of range. But I was really surprised by this one because the acting was pretty solid and the story actually moved along. You're not bored or anything like that. It's arguably maybe a little bit slow towards the beginning, but at the same time it's still building just based on the atmosphere and the eeriness and some minor scares that go on throughout it. So really liked Just Before Dawn. I give it an 8 out of 10. Great movie. I would definitely recommend checking it out if you have not yet, and if you are into pretty decent slashers, because this is definitely a decent slasher. So that is it, guys. Thank you once again for joining me for this Tuesday review, and I will see you next Tuesday.